Hi Luke, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Very good, thank you. How did you start breathwork?
So for me, I think when I was pretty young, actually, I'd say even late teens, I was suffering a lot with anxiety, with depression, with other issues, difficult upbringing. And I was trying to find ways in which to kind of connect to myself. And I was doing a lot of movement, a lot of martial arts, and breath work was just naturally something that you would do. If you were doing martial arts, if you were doing movement, breath work was a huge part of that. And it started to make me think about that. You know, where is this coming from? Where's the source of this? Because it has such a benefit in terms of just being able to express the body. But then it made me start to think more about the mind and the nature of the mind and what you can do with the mind through the breath, you know? And so that was kind of where my journey started. And I don't think I was even necessarily aware of it. And so this question is a great question because I had to really think about it, you know? When did I really start connecting to breath work? And I think it even started even before I was conscious of that, you know? And I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's something innate and natural as a human being that we would do, but we're maybe perhaps not aware of it. But then when you become conscious of it, then it becomes even, you know, even more powerful, and then you can start to utilize it in more beneficial ways.
How has breathwork helped you?
Right, so I'd say breath work, honestly, it's helped me in so many ways. I think the key thing that I've understood and realized through using breath work is just how, you know, in our lives, there are so many things that are going on that we're not in control of. And, you know, it's in our nature to want to be in control of stuff, but we can't. You know, things are happening and it's stressful and it makes us anxious and it makes our lives difficult. But the breath really is something that you can control. It's really something that you can sort of tame and put into place and help you to then be able to manage the things you can't control, right? Because obviously what happens is, you know, you get stressed and your breath becomes shallow and you get upset and then things start to snowball. You get this kind of negative, vicious cycle. And for me, just being able to take the time to just understand, okay, you know, just take a moment, just close your eyes, just witness your breath, just use your breath. Understand, okay, my breath's shallow right now, come back to the breath. Just being able to understand these simple ideas, these simple concepts that anybody can do. And that's the beauty of breath work. If you can breathe, you can do breath work. And that's why it's so powerful and why it's so important. And we can help so many people, I think, with it.
And what has changed in your life due to breath work?
I'm answering all the questions at once.
Yeah.
Again, I would say it's just that understanding that, look, there's so much out of our control and it's something that you can focus on. The breath is such a beautiful, such a pure thing that you can focus on. And, you know, for me, for example, and again, I don't know if I'm jumping into other questions, but like literally just when I wake up in the morning, you know, before all the stuff that I have to do, you know, responding to emails, phone calls, you know, the things I'm worried about, relationships, work, whatever it might be, just taking the time to go, look, that can wait, even for, look, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is, to just focus, you know, just focus on my breath, to use some different breathwork exercises, and to just be present and be aware. So for me, it's a hugely powerful tool. It's a really, really powerful tool. And I'm so happy that I discovered it. And what the beauty of it, I think, is that, you know, it's a primal thing. It's a natural thing. You know, we can all do it. You don't need to have, you know, you don't need to be, you can be a millionaire. You can be someone who's, you know, living on the street. It doesn't matter. If you can breathe, you can utilize it. So yeah, it's really, really changed my life, to be honest with you.
Thank you. And for how many years have you been practice breathwork and who you have become because of it?
Sure. So I think, this is a double-edged question for me. I think unconsciously, I've been practicing breath work since I was a kid, you know, since I was into movement, into martial arts. So probably, you know, when I was like 12, 13 years old, I was unconsciously doing it, you know, like, you know, I remember watching Bruce Lee movies, you know, and seeing, what's he doing? He's doing all these different breathing exercises and, you know, with Qigong and Kung Fu and really being inspired by that. But I think in my early 20s, that's when I really started to sort of take notice of the power of the breath and utilizing that in order to kind of function more optimally. So yeah, I'd say unconsciously, you know, when I was a kid really, but, you know, I'd say in my 20s is when I really started to hone in on that breath work.
Who have you become?
Who I've become? I just think I've become more of a well-rounded individual. I think the beauty of the breath is that it connects you to that inner silence, that inner space. And I think often the problem we have in our modern culture, in the West, I'd say often, is that we are so focused on strengthening either the body or the mind, right? That's very important, of course, but in the East, at least, they're more aware of the spirit, of the soul, right? And whatever you want to call it. You don't have to be a religious person, you don't have to believe any of this, but there is something, right, that I feel, that I believe in, that is deeper than the mind, deeper than the body. And so through the breath work, it's helped me to realize that part of myself. And so I think it's helped me to become a more authentic version of who I am, like a more real, genuine person. As I speak to you now, I'm speaking from the heart, you know, and I think probably before breath work, before, you know, that kind of wisdom, I'd probably be more in here and less able to just speak from my true self, I suppose.
How have you helped your client through breath work?
So I've been really lucky enough to just naturally meet people who I've then ended up taking on as clients, and that work is really even just through friends, they've helped me to meet other people who have learned about what I do, what I've been doing, and I've really understood that, you know, this work is really important. And I think that some of the people that I've met, some of the people that I've helped, they didn't even realize the power of the breath, the power of breath work. They weren't aware that, you know, there is this, you could tap into this state of consciousness. You can do this. Anybody can do this. And so I've got clients, I've got people that I've met along the road who are dealing with, you know, traumas, like quite serious traumas, from more modern, you know, stuff going on currently with relationships to stuff that's happened maybe many years ago, and they've kind of unconsciously carrying that. And again, that was something that I really became aware of for myself. When you start to do the breath work, when you start to come to your presence, come to your center, what I've seen in clients is that stuff that maybe they're kind of, it's there, but they're not willing to necessarily face it. That stuff then starts to come to the surface. And I've seen clients really release, literally like cry their eyes out, you know, and you know, it chokes me up a little bit even talking about it. It's really powerful that you could, I'd just say I've facilitated, I've helped them to help themselves, right? Because they've got to do the work. You know, at the end of the day, I could tell you to do some breathing exercises, but you've got to do it. You've got to be open enough to face what then might come up. So it's incredible, the power of the breath, how it can really help people to draw stuff out, you know, even unconsciously, and potentially, you know, release some really kind of, you know, stuff that has, you know, held them back in their lives. It's amazing. It's really, really powerful.
Thank you. And what do you teach?
So I love to teach breath work aligned with meditation as well. So I think meditation and breath work are a beautiful combination. I love the harmony of the two, and they're similar, but they are different, as you know, as I'm sure you guys will know. They're similar, but they're different. But I think the beauty of the two of them, that they have a quite, it's almost like a dance, you know. It's like two dancers coming together in harmony. So for me, I'll practice meditation with my clients. I'll practice breath work, and I love to move. I love to be in nature. So I love to take my clients out into natural environments, into you know, green spaces. Just to connect with your environment is a huge benefit. You know, to be aware of the birds, aware of the trees, aware of the sound of the wind. You know, just simple things. Those kind of connections through nature, through movement, through breath work, through meditation. Those are the things that I really think are keys, and things that I love to integrate into my sessions.
And what illness or traumas have you and your client been able to heal through breath work?
Yeah, I suppose, again, it's kind of going back to what I said, but really facing things, you know, facing inner stresses, inner difficulties, be it from the past, you know, stuff that might have happened, you know, when you were a kid that you're not even, you kind of put in a box, you know? And it's amazing how the power of the breath can really help you to connect to that space. So for example, you look at something like therapy, right? Therapy is amazing. I would never, ever put it down. I think I've done therapy and it's great to talk out your problems. But I think sometimes people aren't even aware necessarily of their problems. And so the breath, I don't know, it has this incredible way to help you access those parts of yourself that are potentially dormant, that are potentially hidden within your subconscious. And so what I've seen in my clients is those kind of traumas, obviously I'm not going to go into specifics because that's their personal, you know, business, but those kind of traumas, I've seen it really help them to really connect to those and release them, you know, in a safe, I would say a sacred space, because I think that's what I'm about. It's about creating sacred spaces. And what does that mean? It means a space in which you can be yourself, in which you can be whatever it is that you are and just be free to express that, you know? Because we live in a world where we're constantly having to be inside a box and just be like, okay, I don't want to upset them, or, you know, I'll just sort of tell them I'm fine. But, you know, a lot of the time we're not fine. A lot of the time something's happened and we feel upset, but we don't know how to express that. And so I've seen in my clients how breathwork can really help them to create a safe space in which they can then express themselves, whatever that might be, and not feel judged, which is, I think, is so important.
And what are the results that your clients get from working with you?
You know, I think you'd have to ask them, but I'm going to toot my own horn anyway. I think it's just being more present. Number one, being more aware, you know. I think that is the key thing that I try to focus on in my sessions with my clients, is anything that brings you back to presence, anything that brings you back to this space of awareness is so, so powerful. Because why do we get depressed? Why do we get anxious? Why do these things happen? Because we're constantly in the future or in the past. Okay, I wish I'd have done that. If only I did this. And it's always this, like a ping pong, with our brain is ping ponging from left to right, left to right. So I think in my sessions, the key focus is about coming back to presence, is about coming back to that space. And if you'll speak to them, I think that's what they would say. That's the thing that I focus on the most. And that's the kind of feedback that I get, you know, thank you for helping. This is so powerful. This is so helpful in me just coming back to who I am, you know, that space where, you know, silence speaks, so to speak, you know, we don't always have to be, you know, even though I'm doing that right now, we can actually just be quiet and be fine, you know, and be happy, you know. So yeah, I think that's the key takeaway from my sessions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Luke.
No problem. Thank you so much, Antonia.